Armed with Arizona road maps and $500, our crew left the studios of KFMB early on a Wednesday morning. The first stretch of our trip was a pretty easy drive. We headed east on Interstate 8 to Yuma. Probably the most interesting break in scenery in traveling across the desert are the sand dunes you reach just outside of Yuma. We drove through mid-morning, so the temperature was tolerable, an unbearable spot later on in the day. Our first stop was at the Yuma Territorial prison. About a century ago, it housed more than 3,000 convicts. Now it's a state historic park. It costs 50 cents for adults to get in. Children are free. Now, you need at least an hour to explore the prison grounds. All of the original cell blocks are preserved. In fact, the iron bunk beds you see are the same ones the prisoners once slept on.
Now, if you think this place is a pretty good bargain for 50 cents a piece, you're really going to like our next stop. It's absolutely free.
The next stop, Painted Rock State Historic Park. This jumble of boulders was a landmark to pioneers traveling the southern Arizona desert. But its meaning to ancient civilizations is unclear. Primitive drawings of animals and solar signs cover the rocks. Historians still don't know what they mean. They do know, however, that the petroglyphs are more than 1,000 years old. Somehow they've withstood the desert extremes and winds. We spent our first night in Phoenix.
You can easily spend a couple of days in Phoenix sightseeing. There are art museums featuring Indian crafts, dog and horse races, and a desert botanical garden. Scottsdale is another fun place to stroll through. It's about 12 miles east of Phoenix, and it's known as the West's most western town.
And Western goods are about all you'll find here. Everything from $2 denim mugs to $700 lizard boots. Driving north towards Flagstaff, you'll see some spectacular scenery. Wide open plains chock full of saguaro cactus. Some of these 30-footers are a couple hundred years old. The farther north you go, the prettier the scenery. The drive to the old copper mining town of Jerome is gorgeous. Jerome is perched about a mile high in the northern Arizona mountains. Once a booming copper mining town with a population of 18,000, Jerome today is virtually a ghost town. Less than 400 people now live here. Although many of the original buildings and homes were destroyed in a series of devastating fires between 1897 and 1899, there are still many fascinating relics left in Jerome. After leaving Jerome, we headed for the town of Sedona, which is nestled in the Oak Creek Canyon area. The area is well known for its natural beauty. There are rocky gorges, buttes, and unusual rock formations. That makes it a popular spot for filmmakers and advertisers. Dozens of westerns and commercials have been shot here. One of the quaintest refueling stops we found is this restaurant known as the Hideaway. You can't find a better lookout point, and the food is reasonable too. From there we carried on north. Oak Creek Canyon is considered one of Arizona's most beautiful canyons. Clumps of pine, cypress, and juniper dot the brilliantly colored cliffs. And there's plenty to do along the way for free. One attractions in the canyon. It's nature's version of a sliding board. Now, if you don't want to rip up a good bathing suit or shorts, bring along some old clothes. You'll need them. The next step is working up the courage to brave the 50-degree water. It took me all the way to the Grand Canyon to recuperate from that one. Believe me, it was cold. We made it to the south rim of the Grand Canyon just in time for sunset. By now, we've been on the road for 3 days. We've spent $65 on gas, $94 on rooms in Phoenix, Flagstaff, and the Grand Canyon, $80 on food, and $5 on museum tickets. So our total now comes to $224. That means we have almost $300 left, with more than half of the trip over. Tomorrow we'll take you on the last stretch of our journey, starting with a beautiful sunrise breakfast in the Grand Canyon and a spectacular helicopter ride over the canyon. Paula Zahn, News 8.